Hello, and in today's video we're going to look at the Hollywood Orchestrator by East West. Hi, I'm Euan, and hot on the heels of my previous video which was looking at the Hollywood Opus engine, this is a great video which is going to show you a working version of Hollywood Orchestrator, and I'm going to give you some tips if you're having a bit of trouble getting yours set up as well. Okay, so we're over in the Opus engine, and as you can see here I've got nothing loaded up, and just to ensure that you've got a very smooth running Hollywood Orchestrator, I've also been given the following tips from East West directly themselves. Make sure you've got Hollywood Harp and all your other Opus libraries already installed before you make any attempts to start the orchestrator, because what I was finding was it was loading some of the patches but not some of the full ensemble ones, and I was wondering why. And actually it wasn't until somebody reached out from East West to say you've got to install these libraries, they're not installed yet. So we're going to double click on the Hollywood Orchestra, and then you'll then be able to load all of the presets. Okay, now we're going to start quite simply just by double clicking on where it says empty preset, and then we'll then be able to load up those presets now. So once those are loaded, you'll see the top here you've got preset browser, which says ensembles, ostinatos, scores and user. And you'll have seen by the tutorial that East West did what each of these means. But basically, in short, you've got full, long, sustained notes and ensembles, repeated patterns or ostinatos, and then you've got full scores, which are very complicated orchestral arrangements. We're going to have a look at those shortly. And then user, you can define your own. So it's fairly straightforward. Now ensembles, very straightforward. Double click on any one of these and you'll get, for example, strings, legato we can play on our keyboard. Let's go over to the ostinatos and let's see if we can load some up then as well. So I've loaded up the next one here, which is ostinatos 2-beat notes. You can increase the speed of what's going on within the engine as well. So over on the top right here, you've got the tempo where it says 120 beats per minute. Just click on that to increase it as well. You can also use the scroll wheel of your mouse to change the tempo really quickly as well. So let's set it for an insane speed of 155 beats per minute. So if we go back to the engine, we will be able to have a look at the more fuller ensembles as well. So we click over to where it says from ostinatos, we jump over to the right hand side, and this is where the fun begins, because you have got so many different full ensembles. You've got different styles down here. So you've got Family Adventure, which you could have a listen to that. Some lovely patterns there. Let's get a bit more full-on cinematic, shall we now? Let's go and have a look at those. Okay, let's go full-on fantasy Black Knight. Let's see what this sounds like as well. You could have lots of fun with that, I reckon. So we're going to go into the superhero and we can have a little listen of this one here. What I like with all of these presets is it's not just about holding down and hearing those patterns, but those one-hit orchestral notes sound really good as well, so I can show you those. So it doesn't really matter which of these you end up using, there'll always be lots of scope for being able to make something sounding incredible straight out of the box right away. So let's see how we can customize these for our own use. Elven World. Okay, so what you can do is over on the left hand side you have got lots of different choices here. You can change the instrumentation of the particular preset. You can also change the octave or the range of that particular preset sound, and you can also look to change the way in which that pattern sounds as well. You'll notice on the Hollywood browser you've got 4 colored keys down here. These are really handy. These are just handy for you to be able to mute and blank certain parts out, and you can press these key switches and they'll bring them in. So if you wanted to mute out the strings, you would just have this. And if you wanted to mute the brass but bring in the strings, and if you wanted to have everything except for the strings, you could just press these 3. So once again, I can show you that if you were to press all 3 of these, all 4 of the parts will mute. Press them one by one, you can then bring them back in all together, and then one by one mute them out. That's a really nice way of when you are playing, you can audition ideas through your user created patches, which we're going to look at shortly, but also how you can mute different parts as well. So once you're quite happy with these, over on the left hand side you can see the window that shows you all the different parameters for each of these different parts here. So you've got different slurs, different techniques, these kinds of things. But you can actually do that, and here it shows you within the window what you've selected and the kind of things that you could then change that to. So if you fancied, rather than flautando, if you wanted something a bit more spiccato or whatever within this particular set of sounds, you can actually do that nicely. So if I just show you very quickly, let's say we want the violins to be up an octave and we still want them legato, but we want the second violins to be maybe down at their standard octave of 0. Again, you can scroll with the scroll wheel of your mouse, or you can click them up and down, no problems there whatsoever. You can just put them in via your keyboard by double clicking. They go from lowest to top within the range of each instrument, so I'm going to go lowest plus octave because I want it to sound fuller here, okay? And I maybe want my lower strings to be more repetitive. So once that's done and you're quite happy, that is the instrument set. So over on the left we have got each of, basically it's a mixer, and in each of these you can then choose to include them by switching the toggle on left and right, or by including here you can then remove them or just keep them as they are. By working together with the main window here, the main engine here for Hollywood Orchestrator, as well as on the left hand side, there is an absolute mountain of things that you can do and enjoy. And of course if you ever think, oh I really don't like what I have done, then you can then clear all the instances, and you can see here you can actually clear them all just by simply going over to close all, or you can go on here on the 3 lines and then you can just close all instruments that way. To go back to Hollywood Orchestrator, you would click between these 3 tabs at the top up here. If you wanted to add in other instruments, which you can do, you would just click on browse, and then within the Opus engine, remember this would be specific, you would lose the Hollywood Orchestrator. But if this was in your DAW, you would just load up a new track, and you would then be able to do brand new track that you could either do using Orchestrator or specific instruments from whichever library that you want. So it's good that it's tempo tracked. It's good that you can then zone in and out with different groups and mute them and bring them back in again. So you almost could become a live orchestral DJ in your own right. You could actually do some music making without scoring in advance, and you could just do something almost improvised. So the opportunities for music making of such a large scale are phenomenal. I like this one, Rival Tribes. I think it's a superb suite. Have a listen to this and see what you think. Imagine increasing the tempo for this and you can absolutely go to town. I put all my samples on external SSDs, and I think that's a really useful thing because the speed in which these now load compared to the Play engine, I mean I've been using the same computer for both, and the speed in which these sounds load with SSDs is phenomenally fast. And the fact that you've got Orchestrator with everything under one roof has been phenomenal. So again, as I said, make sure you've got all the sounds from the Opus engine installed and gathered in one place, okay, because it will make your life a lot easier. I would go into your East-West installation center. You've got to check first of all that your Opus Edition library is saved in the right place. So I've actually got an SSD specifically for East-West Hollywood Orchestra Opus Edition instruments. So once you've done that, make sure that you have put in your location. So I would always locate directory and reinstall, of which if you're having a massive problem with it finding it, but what you would do is you would go locate directory and reinstall, select the actual folder where you've got it. So what you do is you would select this and you would then select your instrument and then you would click open, but I'm not going to do that. And what it would do is it would reinstall and download them if necessary. If you're struggling for Hollywood Orchestra to find those instruments, I would highly recommend uninstalling the library that it cannot find and then reinstalling it again. I know it's a bit of a pain because of the size of the files, but if you do that, it will just automatically refresh and just tell Orchestrator where those files are. I heard from East West Studios and they were very helpful in helping me based on what I was experiencing in my previous video, which I'll also link down below and in the card at the top right hand side of the screen as well. Thank you very much to my patrons. If you want to become a part of the family, there are links down below to how you can be a part of the most amazing community of music makers, and also how you can get involved with the app that I've used to make this video with as well. Superb, exciting things. And as ever, I've been Euan. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.